All right, good evening, good evening. So I was going to show a full process video, not a time-lapse video for this tree area here when I got to it. But as you can see, there's been damage done to the piece. I don't really want to go into that at this time. I don't want to dwell on the past. I'd like to move forward, and I figured that it would be a good opportunity to show my process, and also to kind of show how I do correct pastel. I've had this sort of thing happen before, whether it's from a dog or, a child. But anyways, I'm just gonna kind of go through some of the processes. So you can see the smear marks here, how I would go about starting to fix this, because there's a lot, that's been totally damaged here. This this where there's really nothing left. What I would do is I would start by defining the trees again. I would start by taking black, and I would come in here to, kind of get some definition. And there is some warping, some buckling on the paper, because there was also water damage done to the piece. So that's unfortunate. I might try to, put some books or, put something on it to help flatten it back out. But so if you see the paper moving, then that's why. A little bit of water damage. So you can see I'm coming in here to kind of start to define the outlines of the trees, so I can kind of see what I need to fix, what I got to work with. Some of it wasn't totally done, like this. I had just started, this isn't really filled in here, so I'll just go from there. But I would just start by getting these outlines in here, because then we can put, what's in the background, and then start to bring these trees into the foreground. So hopefully everyone's having a wonderful Father's Day. Today's Father's Day. All right. So just this little bit, I'm using new pastels. They look like this, Prismacolor new pastels. They look like these little rectangular little pastels, and a lot of times I'll break them into smaller pieces, sharpen them into a point, whatever I need to do for the area that I'm working on. And I'm using, this is cold pressed watercolor paper. This area looks not too good. Okay. So I'm gonna have to kind of come in and redraw some of what's going on here. And the great thing about nature, trees, grass, and things like that is kind of just go with the flow. It's not gonna be perfectly like the. I never make my work, try to look exactly like a photo. It takes way too long. I do not have time for that. For the faces, you know, that sort of thing, you know, definitely want to make it look as realistic as possible. But for, you know, things, trees like that, I'll kind of look at my reference and, you know, kind of just go with it. Okay, so I've kind of pulled some of the outlines up for the trees. I would start from easiest and go to hardest next. I didn't even think about what I was gonna do with this. I just pressed the record and figured I would figure it out. So this area here is like more towards the background. I can, and it's, you know, mostly just black. It's just a bunch of trees. So I'm gonna come in and push that back. So it recedes into the background again. I do use my fingers mostly to do my blending. If I do color pastel, I'll use sanded paper, but for my black and whites, I use cold press watercolor paper, as I said. I use warm tones for my grays. In the Prismacolors, they'll have warm and cool. And I found when I tried to use the cool when I first started, because I thought, you know, oh, cool color, warm color, you know, it did not look good. So I always use the warms when I'm doing these black and whites. So trying to come in and bring in some of the little bit of the light that's behind these trees here. Now when I work with pastels, like I use the cold press watercolor paper because it's, as you'd say, toothy. So you can have lots of layers. And it's interesting because when the first couple layers, like you can see down here, you can see the paper through. Like I have to add multiple layers to kind of get it to get like a nice velvety built up texture. So luckily when something, you know, like this happens, it gets all smeared, I don't have to erase and then start again. At least not for this kind of paper, not for the black and white. Now if it was colored on you know, some sanded paper, it might turn to total mud, in which case, you know, I'd probably use a kneaded eraser and just dab that on there to pick up the pastel. You don't want to rub it. Rubbing it, you know, will not only destroy the tooth of the paper, if you do it too much. You know, I can blend this in, but if you do too much rubbing, then it'll just end up like anything, you know, rub it too much and it'll get worn down. So there are some little kind of bits of light, how I get these kind of sprinkles of light. I take like a really soft pastel and I just like kind of crumble it on. And I learned this technique in a pastel book, which is wonderful. I used to buy books all the time and read because I just loved, you know, I love learning. I like teaching myself things, you know, even if I, you know, didn't have a teacher to learn it from, I would just buy books. So after you sprinkle it on, you just, you know, take a pastel knife, or this is actually a painting knife, excuse me, palette knife, and you just simply just press it in. And I'm just kind of just patting it and I would blow it off. Now, you know, this looks just like, you know, fairy dust has been thrown on it. You know, you kind of lose some of the trees. So I would come back in and then start to kind of, you know, scrape out what I don't want. And then you can also just use the black and then go back over it. So if you have more built up on your paper texture, you can scrape it off. Like I did do scraping here along, you know, with the trees. But since this doesn't have so much on it, I'm just gonna kind of come in and redefine some of these branches here. And there's not really, that light's not really down here, so I'll just get rid of that. So it's kind of like a push-pull, you know, just a back and forth process for me with these. Break that up a little bit. So they're almost kind of like paintings, but I'm just painting with dust, I guess you could say. So come in and so there's actually a lot more of it up here. I wasn't even looking at the picture. I was just talking to y'all. So add some more in up here. Pat it. Blow it off. All right, I'm gonna come in here, add some more darks in. As this thing got dusty, I ended up just throwing it on top of a bookshelf. I didn't want to see it. So it kind of got a little dusty. But that's okay. Start anew. So come in and add some darks in here. Okay. So just a little, you know, sprinkling of light coming there through the trees. It kind of fades down here. This is like a path, a little sidewalk here. This is a path that will be here. So this is just dirt and kind of shrubbery, sticks, what have you. So, you know, I just come in and just start to just make little marks, you know, just build them up. So I'll use black, and then a lot of times I'll work dark to light. Use black first and then put light over it. The black doesn't usually cover the white very well. Like something like this is okay because it's not a whole surface of white. But if I made this all white and tried to use the black over it, it would have a weird kind of grayish chalky look to it. So I'll try to do lighter over dark, but you can't really cover, you know, super white over black that well unless you're using like very thick pastel like that. And then again, it's kind of it's a hit or miss. Never know what'll happen, but that's like with art, you never know what'll happen. So I always encourage experimentation. You know, I've thrown away so many pieces of art in my life. But, you know, I'm always learning something, so that's the point of it. So This is a little bit lighter. Kind of come in, add some more texture. This. This is like pretty smeared up here. The light is. So come in and then blend that in. And I'm going back over with the black to kind of push some of the areas down, as in like blend it. You know, you can use lots of different tools to blend the pastels. I don't normally use the little paper blending things because I feel like they usually pick up too much of the pastel. It's kind of like you put it down and it picks it back up, and it's kind of like, okay, you gotta do it all over again. So when my fingers get the pastel on them, they're kind of like the perfect blending tools. Now you gotta be careful. You don't want to, use a black finger to mix white. So I'll, a lot of times keep a damp rag or just wash my hands, like if I'm switching tones. But just come in, put some more stick type things. Gets kind of lighter towards the bottom, so I'm gonna put some lighter sticks in here, some lighter shapes. It's leaves or something, I can't even tell. Sometimes it's better if you don't know what you're drawing, just going by the shapes and the value, dark and light, and just put in the dark and the light. That's all there really is anyways. So, see, it's quickly coming back together. Nothing's ever broken. Right. Something lighter. And I like to do the lights over the darks, like especially when I'm doing portraits, because it like really allows, like where it's light, like if you put like highlights on the nose or on the, brow line, the mouth, anything like that, it just really starts to like bring it forward. That which is dark recedes back, and once you build up layer upon layer, it's like starts to look thicker. Like it's hard to tell, probably from that video, but because you're putting actual dust down on the surface, it really does start to build up, to have surface texture, like almost looks like paste. Like they're not oil pastels, but because of the texture and how I'm applying them, they almost start to appear like that. So there are some type of like little leaf like structure-y things here I'm gonna put in. Sticking out of the tree. Again, these are just total light shapes that I'm just putting over and not really worrying about, what it is. I mean, not that you shouldn't do that, but, I like to not think so much when I'm working, just kind of just zone. I don't know any other way to say it, just zone out. Like I'm checked out, and I can get some really good results like that. You know, just kind of letting divine spirit, you know, work through me. You know, I usually don't feel like I'm the creator of my work anyways, you know, like so just take a deep breath and create something. So hopefully me coming back in and, you know, reworking this can inspire anybody to try anything creative for real. You know, you can add in stuff, take out stuff. There's some weird looking, I don't know, almost looks like a piece of broken wood there, and I'm not gonna put that in. It was in there before, but it wasn't really doing anything for the picture, so I'm not gonna worry about it. Okay, I think, kind of feeling like I want to put some. So if you want to get dust from these new pastels, because they're on the harder side, you know, you can kind of take an X-Acto knife and just shave some of it off. This is how I sharpen them too. I'll just go like this. But anyways, I'm gonna put some dark back over this. So a lot of times, you know, it's just putting in dark, putting in some light, adding some more dark over. That off of there. And you'll just start to get all kinds of dimension. I'm gonna rub this in a little bit. This is a little bit trickier to rub in. It's not as soft. But you know what's there once you blow it off. So I did get a decent amount on there. Okay, I'm gonna put some more on here. And you get different size. You get some big chunks and some little chunks, so looks even more natural. Just don't think too much. Okay. Let's see. I'm down here maybe. Cover up some of these light twigs. All right. Spread that around. Rogue piece. Okay. Like this. All right, I'm liking it. I feel like it looks like dirt. What do you guys think? Looks like dirt. Okay. Right. Move down here. I'm gonna define some of this. These are rocks or something. Again, sometimes you just really don't need to know what it is, because it kind of make you think too much. Do not want to overthink making art, or else you will never make art. Or do anything creative for that matter. You think too much about it. I'm not saying don't think about it, but one of my teachers, let's see, what was that, junior year at CCAD, when we were you know, trying to write our, what were those? The artist statement. I can't even think of the name. I tried to forget it. You know, said they just make a bunch of, you know, just make work. And then at the end of the year, just sit down and look at what's there and make a statement about it. You know, like, what is it? But if you try to work backwards, like, I'm going to make art that's going to say this, I think, God, that doesn't work. That's overthinking. I mean, someone I'm sure wants to prove me wrong. That's fine. But in my experience, if I think too much and like try to make art, you know, I did that in grad school. Like, oh, I have to make this, like, you know, super weird art. I'm in grad school, like I have to do something different. I can't just make portraits. And I mean, not that the work was terrible. The work was terrible. I mean, come on. I was like trying to be an artist. Like, I was miserable. I hated grad school. I was like, please save me, somebody. Do not recommend going to grad school. I recommend just making art and seeing what you've made and then put it out there, you know, because it's just expressions of our life anyways, you know. I mean, whatever it is, like still life, portraits, you know, it's we're the viewer. We've experienced, and you know, we're just here to like make that into something physical, our experience into something physical. That's all. And you know, if someone wants to buy it, it's freaking awesome. You know, but when you think too much about it, or you know, I was doing the arts festivals, it's like, oh, what does somebody want to buy? And then I would, you know, make that. And of course I would hate making it. I was like, ugh, I gotta do 3 more of these. I'm really not liking this, but I need to make some money. And then it becomes like a job, you know, and I don't think we're meant to have jobs here on earth. I really don't. We're, you know, meant to experience and show our experience through our eyes, you know, the eyes of us as the viewer, you know, like, who are you? Okay. This area is looking better. I think I might move on. So I don't like to spend too much time on one section. It kind of starts to make me a little stressed out, and I don't like to get bored when I'm doing art. Again, I don't like to feel like it's work, so sometimes it's just best to move on, and it's nice to come back and look at something with fresh eyes. Because then you see, ugh, that doesn't look good. But if you stare at something for too long, you don't really know what you're looking at. You don't know what you're looking at. It's all blur. Okay. Okay, well, that section's looking better in the moment. Okay, let's move on to one of these trees. We'll do the one next to it. Okay, I'm gonna go from down here and work up. I'm gonna cover that. Okay, trying to figure out what I had here before. Okay, so the background wasn't done. I'm gonna move my computer screen. Okay, I'm gonna add some of this in first. I do a lot of times like to do, you know, what's behind and then do what's in front of it, you know, after. So that the pastel, you know, again, so that this ends up laying on top of that, because you want this to be, you know, receding into space, you know, the background, it's back there, and you want these to pop forward. So, you know, if you're doing just like pencil, colored pencil, I don't think it's as big of a deal, but I know with like painting, you know, back to front kind of thing, just like dark to light, you know, what's dark recedes back and what's light, you know, gets pulled forward. So, you know, I'm gonna do this back here and then, you know, let this trunk pop out. It looks just like a lot of dark blur back here anyways. And with the pastels, you know, the figure here is I end up having to draw and redraw things, so I'll have to kind of redraw that. I don't like to spend too much time on the initial drawing for these because, you know, even with a like detailed portrait, it ends up getting smeared, you know, like when you blur these lines, it's like it's not a smooth line. So it's definitely like a back and forth process for me doing these, but you know, it's like continuing to redefine. And feel free to leave any questions in the comment section. I love answering questions. I'm an open book when it comes to art. A lot of people like to be, you know, tight-lipped about stuff. I'm a teacher through and through. I will show you how I do it, you know. To me, everyone's doing their own thing anyways. But if I can help someone with their technique, I'd love to do that. So let's get a little bit of light in here. See how I'm doing the light over top of the dark. So I did the black and then the dark brown, and now this here. Now sometimes I'll use, I do have this, what's this thing? Colored shaper. You can use these for pastels. It has a rubber tip. I do like this better than those paper blending stumps because, again, the rubber doesn't pick up the pastel necessarily. It just kind of will like smudge it in. So sometimes it's nice to use these to have, you know, something a little bit more precise than the fingers, but I don't know, I have some kind of I'm so used to using my fingers, I feel like I end up doing that anyway, so. But, you know, it blended in, and that's fine. You can come back in. You know, it's like a lot of times you have to do it once to kind of get the edges blended in to the, you know, to around it, if that makes sense. And then you can add some more highlights in. So I'm gonna leave that because you can't even tell what it is anyway. Again, here's where I start to say, okay, it does not need to look exactly like the photo because no one's ever gonna see that photo. They're only gonna see this. So what, you know, what does this look like? How are you gonna make this, you know, be a cohesive drawing, a cohesive piece of art? Okay, so, okay, so there's some kind of root structure going on here. I didn't have too much pastel down here. So again, it's not you know, I didn't even have it really blended in, so the smears down here aren't such a big deal. I'm just gonna kind of come in and re-add these dark areas here. Dark. So redefine those. I might do some live videos with this. Maybe you guys can ask questions. I don't know. I don't know if that would even work. That'd probably be insanity. But let me know. Let me know what you want to see. And I'll try to make it happen. Okay, so I've got the black down here. So I'm going to just minimally start to blend this in. Like I said, I did not blend this in previously. I just put some black and some lighter gray in a little bit. So I'm gonna come in a little bit more. Can you see this? Okay, you can't see this. That's what you guys can see. Right. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with my dark brown here and start to bring in some more definition here for these roots. And I'll definitely go in with some more black once I kind of get this in a little bit more. And some light for that matter. Like I said, push and pull. Layer, more layers. Okay. So I'm gonna try to use the spots that didn't have black on it. And I'm just like doing a very, and I'll like kind of act like I'm holding a pencil or something, I don't know, between these two. And I'm just like pressing here to make this almost like slightly stiff so it has like more of an edge. And I'm just doing a little rubbing up and down sort of movement here. I'm not like pressing in a lot. I mean, it's like just enough to put that pastel into the paper. And you know, you want to start to get rid of those white spaces. You know, because you don't want it to look like paper. It's not a graphite drawing, you know, where you know, the whites of the paper help you with the value. That just, you know, like this, just looks like it's not finished. Looks dry. I think it looks dry. No, I want it to look rich, you know. Not dry. Okay, so At this point, I would go in with my black and start to, kind of cover up, redefine. So, that might mean, outlining certain things. Slightly blending those in. But then I also, as I look at my picture, I see that they kind of blend in anyway. So, easy fix. Yeah, you guys, I don't know what I'm doing. There's a lot of whoops. That's not right. Okay, I won't say I don't know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing enough. So, figure out where you can have a hard line or where you have soft lines. Certain parts of these roots are like more defined, and then other parts, kind of blend into the tree, or they're kind of bumpy. This one, I need to add some texture into this. Bumpy. Because not all edges are going to be hard. It's just like in nature. There's hard and soft. So some of the softer things, you can use your finger, blend that in. Like this. This is softer than what I was making it. So I'm gonna blend that in a little bit. Down here, it ends up being more hard. Ends up being harder. Next. And then, let's see, I'm gonna add some lines on this because it's got some tree texture to it. I'll come in here. There will definitely be parts of the paper that look dry, like they don't have very much pastel on them. So I took this picture of Wren in Asheville, North Carolina. Beautiful, beautiful place. I love visiting that place. Hiked through the Blue Ridge Mountains. This might have been on a trail there. I really don't remember, but somewhere in the mountains, this picture was taken. So I wanted to make it a memory, make it a picture, just because I loved this tree, how or trees that whatever grew together like this, and Wren got in there, and she's got a stick here and a feather here, and I just thought she looked freaking awesome, so I wanted to make it into a piece of art. Okay, so starting to fade this up into the trunk here. Okay, so I'm starting to get some definition down here. Again, I'll put some more lines. I don't know what that is that I got here. And I'm vaguely looking at my photo reference because You know, this kind of looks like the photo. Kind of. And kind of not. Because if I was trying to make this look exactly, you know, every single, no way, that would take forever. You know, this isn't a portrait. When I do her face, you know, yes, I'll be, you know, as specific as I possibly can be, but for everything else, you know, I don't like to torture myself. I'm not a photorealist. I learned the difference in school, you know, like I'm not trying to make something that looks just like a photo. I'm, you know, using photos, you know, that I take and using that as inspiration, but I don't like to overthink art because I won't do anything. I just won't. I'll get frozen. Don't like to be frozen. Enough things in life cause us to be frozen, you know, I like to not think too much when I make an art. I'll think a lot after, that's why a lot of stuff gets thrown in the trash, but when I'm making it, it's more of like a channeling, I guess you could say. That's what it feels like, at least. And like I did with here, you know, I'm not going to overanalyze this or, you know, try to think I'm coming to some sort of definite conclusion, you know, because again, this is pastel. Stuff gets, you know, pushed around, so I know that there's, you know, likely that even the next time I, you know, turn on my computer and pull this out, you know, certain things won't look the same, or I'm like, hey, you know, there's not enough contrast here, or, you know, this should be lighter, this should be darker. So I don't like to obsess and, you know, act like I'm going to finish this area in its entirety and then move on to a next area. I end up spending twice as much time making the piece of art by doing that. And inevitably I have to come back in and like fix something anyways. Like it's just hard for me to work like that. I know some people work like that. Some people take years to make a piece of art, or a year. I do not take that long. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no judgments. I think I can work quicker, and I prefer if I can work quicker for obvious reasons. So I find that, you know, if I leave things and then move on, you know, because also if you spend too much time in one area, you know, like I said, you can kind of over focus on it and you're, you know, really not seeing the whole picture. Like everything has to, you know, I can't obsess about this one tree here so much so that it looks totally different from the rest of the piece. And so it's kind of like, you know, I'll do certain things and move on and move on and then come back and say, okay, I'm now going to, you know, add in all the lights here so that it has a cohesive look to it. But if I, you know, do too much of one thing, then you know, sometimes it'll just get out of whack. Now I did do each tree separately, but when I first started, I did not add any of this light stuff here. And then I like came back in and then did one and was like, oh, I want to use that technique, because I wasn't going to use that technique at first on the trees, where I did the dust here and, you know, put some of the dirt down here. I originally wasn't going to do that, but then something in me was like, hey, I think I can, you know, almost do it like a, you know, do it like a painting, like come in here and then put that in. So I won't necessarily have a plan when I start working. Again, that's that thinking too much thing. So I'm gonna leave this alone down here. I wanna wait till I get her shoes and then kind of start to put this in, and then I'll kind of play with it some more, because I'm afraid I might make it too light. All right, so come back in here. Now how I did these trees was I, you know, I again put the dark in, but then I just kind of start to come in and, you know, do a like veining, use this dark. If there are dark areas, you know, I might turn this sideways and start to come in, because it almost kind of starts to go down into this root system. So then I'll come in up here. This is dark here. Come up. And again, I'm gonna go over this with the medium, so it's okay to have a little bit extra, because then that'll just, it will end up being the kind of base layer to start to put some of the lighter over. Okay, so with this, I'm coming in to kind of define, you know, that part of the bark that like sticks up, whatever you call it, I don't know. Need to learn more about trees. Now this looks too straight up and down in my opinion. So I'll come in here and start to break it up. So see, that starts to look more natural. I'm just coming in with some little angled lines, shorter. And I can come in and, like with the pastel to the side, start to rub over top of some of the areas of that dark brown, and the pastel will also act as a blending tool without like doing a smear job. You know, sometimes it's okay to smear it, but you know, it's like you'll learn, you know, you're not gonna use your finger for everything. You don't wanna use a blending tool for everything. Sometimes I'll even use like a pencil. You know, this is a charcoal pencil. But I, might come in and then, just blend in certain areas. I wouldn't really do that here, but I'm just showing you guys for an example. You can do that because it, again, you're just pushing the dust into the paper so that it sticks. But I like using this pastel because it does it more bang for your buck because it's like black. And I need this to be darker than what it is. So I'm gonna come in, but you see how really quickly here you've gotten your tree texture in. You can get, value established pretty quickly. I love pastel. I don't know why more people don't use pastel. It is messy. I mean, some people, like a lot of people, don't like to get dirty at all. I just wash my hands after, and I'm good to go. But when I was teaching, a lot of kids did not want to have their hands dirty at all. And hey, that's a thing, and that's totally okay. That's totally okay. I don't even think about it. I'm like playing in the dirt over here. Yeah. I don't think I played in the dirt enough as a child, so now I'm playing in the dirt as an adult. Better late than never. Okay. I left those little white marks there. I don't know why I had those on there. I didn't really have this done. I think I just like putting the white on. It's fun. So I threw some down there. But there is definitely some here along this part here. And I will put that in just so you guys can see how I do that, and then I'll probably end this video. So I got a decent portion here fixed. But okay, so for that light, this is a soft pastel, and it's almost like a slightly brownish color. This is like a really soft pastel, like super, like it's like buttery. I'm not even really barely touching it, and you can see it's, the difference between this, I have to rub this more. This is, I can roll it around and it's coming off. But anyways, so I'm gonna come in and it will very, very easily put marks down here on the paper, like, and if you could zoom in, it looks kind of like pasty. I don't know if you guys can see it. And then I'll probably crumble some on too. A little bit. Okay. So then I'm just slightly smearing them down. I'm gonna use some of this white too. That wasn't even the color I used on these other. That's what happens when I take a time off of my work. Remember what I did. Okay. So I'm gonna pat some of this in, blow some of it off. That don't need to be there. Okay. Cover that up. I don't even know what this stuff is. Does anyone know? Put in the comments. So I'm gonna come in and break some of it up because it like comes around, or over, whatever. It has the veining throughout some of it, I should say. So I'm gonna come in and then put that in. break some of it up. All right, I think I need some lighter lines. I said I was gonna be done, but so I'm using this lighter gray to do some of the highlights in the bark here. That contrast is what's really gonna start to, you know, make the thing come alive. That's why I like black and white stuff. I'm getting into color more now, but I really like the black and white, just, you know, the drama of it. And I'm gonna do a little bit of that here with, this is a little bit darker, and I'm gonna kind of blend this in a little bit because I want it to, you can kind of see it, but this is in the shadow, so it's not gonna, you know, be as contrasted as over here. So I'm just gonna blend that in a little bit. All right, session number 1, the repair process. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Take care, make it a great night.